Coming up today on Wit from Whit Radio.
All I wanted was a tail that I could swim in that looked like Ariel.
Meet Mermaid Bonnie with music City Mermaid. Find out how flipping her fins has gotten her far, both professionally and personally.
I meet other moms and they find out what I do. They are like, really? That's crazy.
Plus,
videography will always be there with me throughout my whole life.
My guest Tucker Wallace talks about his business, Wallace Videography, and shares the journey he's had so far as a filmmaker.
Everybody has a story that they've gone through in life that I feel like you can relate to.
Wit from Whit Radio starts right now. Hey everyone, it's Whit. Thanks so much for listening to Wit from Whit Radio, where entertainment meets enrichment. This is a podcast about laughing at life and learning along the way. It's my goal to entertain, educate, and inspire, all while providing content that helps you feel content. I believe we can all use a dose of inspo, info, and fun in our lives, so I like to say it's never a bad time for a little Wit from Whit. Today's show is episode 118, and it's going out on June 13th, 2018. I am back. It feels like forever. It's been 3 weeks. In case you missed my little programming note on the last podcast, I'm starting a new release schedule for the show because I'm starting a new full-time job in like a few days. I still say for sure monthly. Once I start this job, I'll decide if I can do this bi-monthly or not. But for now, please enjoy this episode. My guests today are both entrepreneurs. There's Mermaid Bonnie with Music City Mermaid, so cool. And then later I'll be joined by my fellow MTSU grad, Tucker Wallace, whose freelance business is Wallace Videography. I think you'll not only learn about their businesses, but also be inspired by their stories and their passions for what it is they do. So let's get started. We often dream of living out fantasies and fairy tales, whether it means becoming a prince, a princess, or perhaps a merman or mermaid. Well, these days there's a trendy profession making fantastical dreams come true, and it has talented swimmers working their tails off, so to speak. My next guest, Bonnie Lavender, is better known as Mermaid Bonnie with her Nashville-based business, Music City Mermaid. And she joins me now over the phone to discuss her aquatic endeavors. Hi, Mermaid Bonnie. Welcome to Wit from Whit Radio.
Hi, Whit. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So I want to start by hitting on the fact that you are a professional mermaid. And when you tell people this is what you do, what's the reaction usually?
So I've been doing this for almost 10 years. So back then, I got a lot more strange looks than I get now because now it's becoming more commonplace. It's become very popular.
Right.
I still get the funny looks because I am also a Brentwood mom. So when I meet other moms and they find out what I do, they are like, really? That's crazy. Most people love it, though. They think it's amazing.
So did you always have an interest in mermaids?
Always. Oh my goodness. My mom brought me some letters I wrote Santa when I was a little girl. Like for a couple of years, all I wanted was a tail that I could swim in that looked like Ariel. I wanted a red wig like Ariel and false eyelashes.
Aw. Well, Ariel is my favorite princess, so I totally understand that. And I'm a big Disney fan, so I gotta know this. Are you a big Jodie Benson fan? The voice of Ariel?
Oh, of course. I love her voice.
I love her.
Okay, you want to hear something really funny? So I didn't plan it this way, but I highly recommend keep articles with you from your childhood. If you wrote a journal or, like I said, letters to Santa, keep those things around and then refer to them when you're older because I had a journal where I thought Prince Eric was just so handsome. I was so in love with him and I didn't realize until later, like my husband, his name is Eric.
That's great.
So when everybody meets him, they're like, oh my goodness, you took this too far, Bonnie. Like, you married Prince Eric, and he looks just like him. It's so funny.
Yeah, that's great. Well, obviously, you need to be a strong swimmer to do this as well. So what's your swimming experience? I know you have some scuba certifications and that sort of thing.
Yes. So when I was younger, I used to be on the swim team. And growing up in Florida, I was always swimming in the oceans, lakes, springs, and I was constantly in the water. Now, being a mermaid, it's different because you have like a tail that weighs around 45 pounds and your legs are bound together. So you have to be really strong in your abs. So I go and do workout classes to keep my core strong. And then I practice swimming in my pool while wearing my tail. And then you have to practice on top of that being graceful and holding your breath.
And how long can you hold your breath?
Just for around 2 minutes, not that long.
And you have done some swimming with sharks, I understand. What's that like?
Yeah. So I am actually the only woman that has ever swam with sharks in all 3 trimesters of my pregnancy.
Wow.
The only woman to do that. I remember I was actually technically 8 months pregnant when I got in the water with the largest sharks in the world, the whale sharks in Mexico. So it was out in the wild. There were tiger sharks around, but I couldn't see them. But I do remember when we were taken out by the guides, they were a big concern because here I was like so pregnant. I have this 45-pound fin strapped to me, no flotation devices, and I was about to swim with these huge sharks. And it was the most beautiful experience of my life besides the birth of my daughter and son.
You also like to promote aquatic life conservation in doing that sort of thing, correct?
Oh, yes. That's why I swam with them. Actually, where we were, there has been some fishermen, especially from China, and they would go there and they would kill the whale sharks because of their fins, their oil, their fat. Like, they make a ton of money off of these sharks. And people, they don't really seem to like sharks. Whenever I talk to somebody about them, they don't seem to care about them. They're afraid of them. So I thought swimming with them while pregnant would bring awareness to these sharks and for people to see them as gentle giants, which they really are.
Nice.
And the funny thing is or I should say the uncanny thing is when I got in the water, all of a sudden these sharks were like lining up practically, and my diver kept going under and saying, "That one's pregnant. That one's pregnant." And before we knew it, every shark that came up to me was pregnant. They could tell I was pregnant, and they wanted to share with me, like, "Hey, I'm a pregnant mom too."
Right.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. And again, and of course, you are in your tail while you're doing all this. How does that work exactly?
So I have several kinds of tails. You have to lube your legs up because I have the silicone tails. So I use hair conditioner is my favorite lube of choice, if you will. And then you have to stick your feet inside the little pocket, and then you have a little band that goes around your ankle to keep them secure. And then you have to slowly roll it up you because you can't tear it. You want to be very gentle with your silicone tail. So it takes me like a good 20 minutes to get into my tails. And then once it's on, it just, to me, it feels so natural. It just feels like it was always meant to be there.
Music City Mermaid is your business. You can make a profession out of this, which is so fascinating. And so who are the mermaids in Nashville that work with you?
So we have our mermaid, Kira. She's what I call our real-size mermaid. She looks like a Barbie doll. I have another Ariel because I did just have my son. So while I was pregnant, I met this amazing mermaid from St. Croix who moved up here. And so she's been my Ariel. And then we have Mermaid Cece, and she has a gorgeous white silicone tail. And she also wears my pink silicone one. And she looks like the Barbie character Merlia. I don't know if you're familiar with her. Serena Stardust. And she looks like a unicorn. She's the unicorn mermaid. And then we have Mermaid Aurora. And her hair looks like Sia. It's half blonde on one side and half black on the other. And then we have our newest one, Amy Beth, who used to do a lot of mermaid parties out in LA. And she moved to Nashville. And so she's joined us with her red Mertailor tail.
Cool. So lots of options there. That's awesome. What exactly do you offer for parties and such? I know there are different packages, but what do you bring to the party?
Oh, okay. Well, it just depends on the party. We do a lot of children's parties, obviously. Ariel is very popular. We bring our mermaids. They come in either a clamshell or a Pegasus, like for the unicorn one. And then they bring a crown for the birthday girl. They have a bubble machine. They can bring speaker with music. Like our Ariel sings the songs, right? And then she has a talking flounder who speaks to her, and they do jokes together, and the kids go crazy over that because it looks like he's really talking. And then when we do more corporate events, I mean, it's really up to the client because we have so much to choose from. We even have a huge, I call it my glam shell. It lights up. And if anybody wants to have a tank performance, we can team up with our sister mermaid companies and come out in a big tank and do a tank show. I've had clients have us come out for even college parties, like just to come hang out in a clamshell and take pictures with guests, or for fundraisers, things like that. You don't need to have a pool to have it, although I recommend it because there really is nothing like swimming with the most realistic mermaid you can swim with.
Sure. And you're doing it as a mom too. You've been mentioning your kids. So do you plan on teaching them to swim like mermaids, or are they already doing that?
Yes, so my daughter Esther, who, by the way, is named after the $1 Million Mermaid, Esther Williams, she is really into it. I try not to push it on her. She's only 3, but she's been holding her breath underwater, swimming as a mermaid since she was around 18 months old. She already had her first photo shoot underwater in a silicone tail before she turned 2. She's amazing. She swims so well, and she's always going underwater and doing like these little poses. She can do bubble kisses. And my son is 3 months old, and if he wants to be a merman, then I totally support that. But they can do their own things too.
Right. And so does it ever just blow your mind that this is what you're doing professionally since you've grown up loving mermaids?
Honestly, I'm so blown away. Like, if you would have met me 10 years ago, I was struggling financially, which was fine, working like 2 jobs, going to school at night, taking out loans, and then I did the mermaiding as a hobby. And then, and like I said, back then, hardly anybody was doing it. So then people just started offering me money to do things, where I eventually got to quit those jobs. I got to pay off my student loans. And now we have this beautiful home, and we get to travel. And it's just, honestly, I just am so humbled by it all, and just so grateful for every day where I get to do this.
That's awesome.
It's been my miracle. Follow your dreams, because you may be struggling. You may be like how I was, working several jobs. You may be tired, but hold on to your hope. Explore your talents, and don't let anybody tell you any different. Really just follow your heart and your dreams and make your own path, and I promise you will be greatly rewarded.
As we wrap up here, where can people find more information about Music City Mermaid, and where can they find you on social media?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and you can also just go to our website at musiccitymermaid.com. That's the best place to go to see our prices, see our mermaids, and then people can contact me directly through there if they have any questions. So that's what I would recommend.
Well, Mermaid Bonnie, thanks so much for your time. This has been really fun to talk about. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Whit. Let me know if you ever want to wear a tail and come for a swim.
Absolutely. Definitely will do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you again. Bye, Whit.
Well, whether it's a wedding highlight reel or a professional business commercial, the quality standard for videography work has increased in recent years, along with the demand. Joining me now to talk about his freelance business, Wallace Videography, is Tucker Wallace. Hey, Tucker, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before we talk about, just videography in general, I want to talk about your passion and your interest for film and storytelling through film. So how did that develop?
It started about when I was 9 years old. I got my first video camera when I was 9, and then it was a very old one. It really started, I guess, with my parents. They both had this old VHS tape video camera, and my brother and I would set it up to where if we dimmed the lights a little bit, it looked like our lightsabers were real. So we could come up with a fake Star Wars scene.
Nice.
And then they got me my first real digital camera, and started pretending you could. There's a guy on YouTube that used to make, his name is Fred, and you can have a helium voice, so I thought that would be funny. So I tried to mimic him for a while, and then I guess my biggest thing after that was I cloned myself. I figured out how to edit 2 of me in one camera scene, and I called myself Larry T, and I talked to my own self. That hit off, and ended up getting to do a school series about Larry T and what not to do at schoul, and it's definitely, I've come a long way since then.
Yeah, and so how have you improved?
Camera skills, it took me a while, but I finally got a pretty nice camera in the last couple of years, and I've really tried to do better, trying to tell a good story. I think even if you had a bad camera, as long as you're shooting for a good story, that kind of makes up for it. So the camera skills and storytelling, those are 2 things I really tried to, grow on in the last several years.
Wallace Videography, why did you start the business?
It all went back to just being that 9-year-old kid, and then just growing up and falling in love with movies and just binge watching stuff and realizing how close you can get to a character on a show. And then when it's over, you're like, man, I feel like a piece of myself is still in that story. So growing up, I just would do a lot of videos for fun and for people. And my friends and I, our senior year of high school, we put together a 90-minute movie called Reflections. And it's about these two high school kids who had grew up together and just because of life grew apart. And then through faith in God, brought them all back together because of their friends in the Lord. And we got to show in the theaters. That really just kept sparking. I just wanted to keep pursuing videography. I didn't start it becoming a business until I guess technically 2016. My buddy, he was getting married in January, and he asked if I wanted to film his wedding. The only time I'd ever filmed a wedding was the day after I graduated high school. My buddy and I filmed the wedding for that. So it had been a while, and I was like, dude, like you don't want me to film your wedding. I've never done one in a long time. And he was like, well, if you don't do it, we won't have it filmed. I was like, okay, well, I'll do it. So one of my friends and I would film that wedding January 2016. Ever since then, like it just word of mouth. It's crazy. Like I don't do a whole lot of paid advertising. It's just word of mouth. And I feel like if you put stuff on Facebook, it's like fishing in your hometown pond. Everybody knows everybody. You can share it. From 2016, I really launched Wallace Videography. One of the family members of the bride and groom liked how I did the wedding, so they made the logo that I have now. She was a graphic designer. I'm very thankful. I still love the logo, so I still use it. And I'm this year very thankfully how things are going. I'm not able to balance a full-time job with doing Wallace Videography full-time, so I've actually stepped down from my job that I've been on the last several months since last year, and getting out of college, and that's its own experience. But really excited because we're just getting really booked up. It's really hard to do a lot of videography and do a full-time job at the same time. It's just really grown a whole lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think there's a quote about, figure out what you love to do and then figure out how to make money doing it. So that seems to be what you're doing there. Now, what services do you provide with the business?
The services we provide now, at first, always started with just telling basic stories. So there's always that to there. But we do offer our main right now is our weddings. That's the most we've booked up this year. We have 10 weddings so far. It's the most we've ever done on our own. We also do a lot of business marketing. We've worked with State Farm, Remax Realtor, Country and Town Realtor, Christian Brothers University, Deer Run. So yeah, but that's a little bit of our services. We do offer photography now, headshots, and we do graduation photos.
You got married. So did you actually work on your wedding video a little bit?
We didn't get a wedding videographer. Actually, just my brother and my friend, they grabbed the camera and filmed at our wedding, and really helped. Because if we didn't have that, we just wouldn't have a wedding video. My friend captured all those moments, and so I got to. Cool thing was I got to edit it. And I don't know, that was really neat going back and editing your own wedding film. But I got to go back and like tell how my wife and I met and like add that in, and that was fun working on your own video.
Talk about the current trends in wedding videography. What are people wanting?
Some people want a lot of just big action shots of your wedding, which is cool. And then other people want more of the let's tell about the whole story of how we've gotten together. Kind of depends, I guess, on what kind of videography you are. Some people do the slow-mo shots. Some people just do a mix. Some people do a lot of, I think the biggest thing that's going on right now is everybody's got a drone. You can go put $1,000 to $2,000 down on a drone. It looks really awesome. Getting to see just an overhead of the land or the house you're coming up upon or the church you're getting married in. I guess prices change. Everybody keeps adding a little bit more money to how much a package costs, what you want in a package. Some people just want a highlight reel. I was at a wedding the other day for my friend, and they just filmed like a highlight reel of the actual ceremony. They didn't film the entire ceremony. We always film, like even at our basic package, you start with filming just the ceremony, and then you add your highlight reel and any other film you want to add on there. A lot of people do first looks now. That's different. My parents, like back in the day, it's just more like a documentary, seeing like here's this family member and let's go say hey to them with the camera. And now I feel like it's more romantic in a way, I guess.
Now, moving on to a YouTube series that I know you have, and then I've seen some videos from A Little Cup of Wisdom. So what is this series about?
How it came about was I went to go work at a camp called Deer Run. It's an amazing place. My buddy called me up and was asking what my plans were for the summer back in, I think 2014. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go work for the grocery store for the summer. I've always done that. And he said, well, what if you want to become a videographer for this camp? He's going to go be a camp counselor, and they need a videographer for the whole summer to film a video every week. I did it. I was like one of the first few times I've just been away from home, and I was gone all summer. I loved videography, but sometimes you get in just like a dry spell. and I guess it was my writer's block. But coming out of Deer Run, people there really inspire me to keep going and keep just making videos, because I got to make some special films for them, and which required me getting in a green screen and like doing superhero stunts and like telling about how we all connected as our camp staff, and how we'll probably never see each other again. So I had to put together a 20 to 30 minute video with the help of some friends. That way we can always have that. And so like coming out of there, I've always wanted to have some kind of series where I can say, this is what it's like to grow up and this is what I'm learning. I was at my grandparents'. I drew a coffee cup or something like that. I just like coined the name, A Little Cup of Wisdom. Not that I have all the wisdom, because I got so much more learning to do, but the fact that everybody has a story that they've gone through in life that I feel like you can relate to. And that was my meaning behind that. I was just like, hey, this is what's happening in my life. So the first like series, I did like 10 episodes. I called it like season 1, but it was really like just me starting off. I actually started with my grandparents' house and then going through stages of just like what it's like to grow up, hanging on to memories, just different special moments so someone could relate to. And then at the last episode, we ended up moving to a different town. I got to capture my childhood home, and I really did now looking back, because I don't live there anymore. For me, it was almost like a season 1 of my life, and I enjoyed it just because it's for me, but I wanted to share it with others. And then season 2 was kind of going into MTSU. So I haven't made one in like a year because I got married and I just like forgot about doing them because I just got busy. But I'll still pick it up one day. I love doing every one of those videos, and I'm gonna do more of them someday. I think everybody has a story, whether it's through videos or writing or whatever passion you have. You can tell your story. Videography will always be there with me throughout my whole life. I was thinking about that the other day. Like sometimes it's hard to picture one job. You have some men and women that say, I've been with this company for 30 years. Right now, I can't picture that with something, but I can picture myself always doing videography, whether it is to make ends meet or just to have fun with telling a story or something.
Right. And one little quick entrepreneurial question, I guess. What have you learned in the past 2 years of doing this business? What's the biggest thing you've learned?
Never lose who you are, and always hold on to your values. Like you said, like love what you do, and if you can make some money off of it, that's cool, but you don't do it for the money. You do it because you love it. Everybody's special, and everybody's made unique, and everybody has a passion. Everybody's got something to share with the world, and you can make a good impact. Whatever tools you have in front of you. And videography has been my way of just having fun and trying to do a little good, but very thankful for the people that have followed our work and are helping to support my wife and I. It's a blast for us, and it's fun because we've gotten to travel to different states. So you never know where your passion will lead you.
All right, nice. And finally, I will get you to promote your social media and your website. Where can listeners find you online?
So we just launched our website this year, finally got it up and going. You can go to wallacevideography.com, Instagram at Wallace Videography, or on Facebook at Wallace Videography. On YouTube, I'm actually under youtube.com/McWallyWallace. That was a fun name I created a long time ago. And I believe that's all of them.
Well, Tucker Wallace, thanks so much for being on this show, and congratulations on your marriage and the success with your business. And yeah, all the best to you, man.
Oh, thank you, Whit. It's been a pleasure.
And that's all for this episode of Whit from Whit Radio. Thanks again for listening. I hope it made you smile. If it did, be sure to hit that subscribe button in iTunes or your podcasting app. You can also follow me across social media at Whit from Whit. And until next time, remember to let your light shine, and remember it's never a bad time to listen to Whit from Whit Radio. Bye, everyone.